when I stumbled over a rock and fell apart. Do you think you can help me get back together? You...
Hey everyone, how you guys doing? So in today's video we're going to be taking things a little bit more back to 2020, to one of the first analog horror videos that I ever covered, an analog horror series called Harmony and Horror. And the last time we talked about Harmony and Horror was pretty much exactly a year ago, or at least roughly. So if you do need a little bit of a refresher, I do have a playlist linked with every single video that I've covered on the series. But if you don't want to go through all of these videos, I'm going to be doing like a quick little recap in this one. So yes, it has been a very long time since we've visited this series, so if you have been sticking around this long, thank you so much. And yes, I'm very excited to get back into this classic piece of analog horror. The latest installment in the Harmony and Horror series is a remarkable one, with new revelations that completely change the entire series. It's an episode that is guaranteed to haunt you for a very long time. Like, this one is filled with very disturbing moments. Not only do we dive further into the lives of the characters we already know, characters like Gloria, Martin, and Arthur, all characters that met horrible fates. Martin eventually becoming the sadistic clown, Arthur being killed by his own brother Martin and turned into the ice cream man, and Gloria killed by her own husband Martin when it was discovered that she was having an affair with his brother Arthur. But yes, before we get into this video, please be sure to subscribe as well as commenting on this video, as it would help me a lot in, getting into the YouTube algorithm. Especially commenting actually helps boost my video a lot, so if you could do that as well, that'd be awesome. You can just comment bruh and it'll honestly help me, so if you could do that, that'd be awesome. So now with all of that out of the way, we can finally dive into this piece of analog horror called Harmony and Horror: The Miracle Child. In the introduction of this tape, we're shown an argument going down between Martin and his wife, Gloria.
I made that trip to the doctor today.
Oh, dear, I'm so sorry. I forgot that was today. Well, how did it go? Did he say yes?
No.
So within the segment, Martin is going into detail stating how his last chance of having a child of his own flesh and blood was thrown down the drain. Furthermore, going on to state that he is unwilling to adopt a child, and the only way he would be willing to have a child is if it was his own flesh and blood.
No, I can't go through with that. I can't go through with taking care of somebody else's kid. If it's not my blood, then I don't want it.
And at the beginning of the conversation, Gloria goes on to mention how Charlotte, their neighbor, found a puppy in their crawl space, and that puppy eventually becoming the dog we know as Bonzo.
Charlotte was telling me about this pup in her crawl space, and she's taking care of it now, but she was wondering if you'd be interested in adopting it.
And after this entire conversation is finished, it's leading me to believe that Arthur developed some sort of illness that caused his infertility. And if we're going into specifics, it could have been something along the lines of testicular cancer, which does cause those affected to grow infertile after treatment. But I feel like that's diving a little bit more into territory that we don't really need to go into. The main point being is that Martin is infertile, which leaves Martin unable to ever have a child of his own, which explains his frustration when he begins to yell at Gloria.
And my one chance of having a child of my own flesh and blood was thrown down the drain.
Don't ever raise your voice at me. I'm your wife. I am not your father.
But Gloria, of course, does not tolerate this and tells Martin to immediately stop. Eventually, Martin descends into the depths of his basement to work on a new toy. And after this devastating conversation, this is the beginning of the rift that eventually drives this couple completely apart and leads them to, well, you know. The next thing we're shown is a letter from someone named Eddie that reads as follows. My name is Eddie Miller. This year for Christmas I want a new Henry doll. I asked for a Stitch Buddy last year, but it doesn't work. I think your elves broke it. I left some milk and cookies for you. I hope you like them. This year, I finally will capture Santa on camera. I'm going to stay up all night. I can't wait to see the reindeers. Immediately after this, we're shown the perspective of Eddie hiding in an attempt to photograph Santa Claus. He's here. I heard him on the roof. I can't believe it. Mom and Dad aren't home yet, but that's okay. I'll capture it all on camera for them. And here it becomes evident that whoever or whatever has entered Eddie's home is a home intruder with malicious intent. Eddie looks at the entity hovering over the Christmas tree and snaps a photograph. The demonic creature begins to chase Eddie throughout the hallways of his home. As Eddie hides in his closet, the creature fails to notice him. That is, until a Henry doll sprints towards Eddie. Eddie got what he wanted, a Henry doll, and within it, the mutated corpse as created by Martin himself. Because if we recall from previous episodes, Martin was the creator of this entire ordeal. Martin was skinning children and placing their innards into Harmony toys. His first experiment was with his dog Bonzo, which he skinned and placed into the Stitch Buddy toy, thus turning him into this monstrosity that eventually would go on to kill his own son. Martin then would eventually move on to living subjects, as we saw before. These included the intern he hired a few years prior, as well as moving on to his entire family, killing each and every family member, and then turning them into corresponding toys, as well as killing an entire group of children. The only person exempt from this transformation into a toy was Gloria, Martin's wife, who became a spirit rather than being encased within a toy. However, now that we've uncovered the fact that Martin was left infertile, where did his 2 children come from? A question we'll dive into as we progress.
Good morning.
The next segment of the video is titled Arthur's Speech, and within this segment it's revealed to us that Arthur Greywinder is still alive. Being encased in the Ice Cream Man suit for 7 years, he stands before an audience of supporters, finally free from the shackles of the suit. A suit that his own brother stuffed him inside.
As many of you are aware, I was announced dead 7 years ago. After being lost for so long, I was finally found on February 21st, 1993.
In previous episodes, we saw the monster that Martin had turned Arthur into. Martin performed the ritual on Arthur, which is why we saw this demonic form of him that he used to finally kill Martin. Within his speech, he also goes on to mention how his face has been permanently disfigured from Martin's attack and the ritual that was performed on him, and that now he has to wear a mask to hide his disfigurement. In the next part of Arthur's speech, he goes into detail about the new arcade that he's planning on opening in honor of change, and as a way to heal the scars of the past. This of course referring to all of the people that Martin had murdered. Essentially, Arthur is trying to change the entire brand of Harmony Toys, but maintaining the characters.
Welcome you all to the grand opening of the Harmony Arcadia. It provides love and care at our new daycare center. It provides food and drinks with our new cafe.
Arthur continues to detail all the amenities at the new location. And the biggest standout from these new inclusions is a new security system in the form of Henry dolls, which already you can probably guess that these things are probably going to, turn on us and, kill people. First off, they're 5'4", which is insanely tall for a security bot. They weigh 87 pounds and are made with carbon fiber and hardened steel. After that quick segment, we're also told that the bodies of those who were taken and killed by Martin are also finally brought home.
Welcome back, our brave miracles. the 8 missing individuals that were taken from us those 7 years ago.
All of them being able to be laid to rest except for one person. That person being Martha Clementine, who is a character that I'm pretty sure is the first time that we've been introduced to. Either that or I'm missing her from my notes, but let me know if we've been introduced to her before, but I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've seen a Martha Clementine in the series. Martha appears to have been shot and killed in one of the new facilities.
Well, howdy, y'all.
The next segment in the video is a commercial for the Henry toy, an old broadcast from when Martin and Arthur still ran the company M&A Toys together. During this segment, Henry mentions that his eyes are missing.
That's right. My eyes are missing. That's right. My eyes are missing. My eyes are missing.
Which is a reference to one of the first episodes of Harmony and Horror, where Thomas begs his father to put his eyes back in. The Henry toy asks the viewer to help put him back together, and he begins to get reassembled.
Wonderful.
This entire little segment is extremely eerie as each limb is being reassembled. Henry has a complete empty stare and is just staring into the soul of the viewer as if plotting something truly sinister when he's fully assembled. And the last thing to be assembled are Henry's eyes. And as we recall from previous episodes, Arthur would use his children for these Harmony toy commercials, as we saw with his daughter Sophia and Ava as well. And this time around he's using his son Thomas, who he's blinded. The scene switches and we see Thomas restrained to a metal board, as Arthur grants Thomas his vision back by placing his eyeballs into the Henry toy's eye sockets, a vessel that Thomas is trapped within. The next scene is of the inside of Thomas's room, and in a single frame we're given this news article from November 11th, 1985, which states the following. This morning on November 11th, 1985, the bodies of 2 young boys, Richard Smith and Nathan Barnes, were dug up from the Marnabelle Cemetery. Detective Harold Stewart is conducting an investigation for the whereabouts of these 2 young boys' bodies. The 2 boys both died due to the viewing of a hacked broadcast of a kids program titled The Adventures of Marcus and Andrew. A warning message would later be broadcasted, advising children to not watch the show. As a result of this incident, the 2 boys died tragically. The Harmony broadcast incident is believed to be connected to the cemetery break-in. And reinstating, these are the 2 boys that were killed back in the episode called The Toy Maker, who after watching the broadcast were subjected to death because of the cursed footage that they just watched.
Always seems to be something wrong.
Well, we just wanted the perfect toy.
So did I.
After this, we are shown an image of what Thomas looked like before he was turned into a Henry toy by his own father. And going back to the news article, Detective Harold Stewart is somebody that we have met before, back in the episode where he answers a house call and ends up killing one of the Henry toy security bots.
Hey kid, are you alright? It's alright. It's alright. My name is Mr. Stewart, okay? I'm gonna take you someplace safe.
Returning to Thomas's room, the ice cream man appears out of the closet and devours Henry, or at least what was left of him. And a little theory as to what I believe is happening here is that because we've seen in the past that Martin had no tolerance for his son Thomas, physically and verbally harming him throughout his entire life, even before he was a toy, it's pretty evident that he had no care for Thomas whatsoever. And eventually he just got sick of him and ordered his brother Arthur, the ice cream man, to end his son's life The next scene is that of a birthday celebration left in shambles, and as to what exactly happened here, it is unknown. Either that or this scene is just completely going over my head, but I couldn't really find anything of meaning here. But if you guys find something here, please let me know in the comments. But this next segment is perhaps the biggest revelation in all of Harmony and Horror, proving a theory that we had in the past and unveiling an even bigger truth. So as we came up in previous episodes, we could deduce that Gloria was having an affair with Arthur, which was Martin's brother, but we never really knew the extent of that affair, just that there was something going on between the two. But with this shot of the ultrasound, we can pretty much conclude that because Martin was unable to have children of his own, Gloria had a child with Martin's own brother. And based off of the title of this video, The Miracle Child, I think it's a very strong theory to say that Gloria just never revealed this to Arthur and instead lied to him and told him that he, magically was able to have a child with her, even though that would be biologically impossible because of Martin's infertility. And so when Gloria got pregnant, Martin thought it was his own child. Therefore, in his mind, this was his miracle child, when in reality the child was of Arthur and Gloria, not his own.
Is this what I think it is? Is this real? Are we? Am I gonna be a
Father.
Although again, we still don't know the extent to this lie. We don't know if Gloria and Arthur were having an affair and accidentally got Gloria pregnant, or Arthur had, agreed to have a child with Gloria because Martin couldn't have one of his own, and agreed to be a part of this entire lie to convince Martin that he could have a child of his own. The tape reverts back to the perspective of Eddie, the child that encountered the demonic entity that was hanging around his Christmas tree. He goes on to say that, "I made a new friend today. He's really big and pink. He's a little scary but also really shy. Maybe I finally have an imaginary friend. He also has a new Henry toy with him. I'm going to take a picture of him to show Mom and Dad when they get back." Eddie then grabs his camera and takes a photo of the creature, which reveals itself to be the creature created from the Ice Cream Man's suit, a demon created from Arthur's innards, which at this point is pretty confusing considering we just saw Arthur alive and he was seen giving a speech having been freed from the Ice Cream Man's suit. But I think this is an appropriate time to mention that the man giving this speech is not Arthur, but rather Martin disguising himself as Arthur. Now, this is something that I don't want to get into yet. I'm going to cover it a little bit later in the video because we still need to gather a bit more evidence. But I do want to mention that, this is not Arthur, this is Martin. Eddie goes on to say again, "Don't take pictures of Mr. Handy. He does not like to take pictures. He started crying when I used the camera. I told him I was sorry, and he gave me a hug. He's so nice." And here it's pretty much confirmed that this is in fact Arthur. After Martin turned him into the Ice Cream Man, he was able to free himself from the suit after attacking Martin, as we saw in the previous episode. However, on that night, Martin was not killed, but he was horribly injured. His scars aren't from escaping the Ice Cream Man's suit, they're from when he was attacked by his brother, Arthur, inside the Ice Cream Man's suit. After attacking Martin and assuming him dead, Arthur left and is now seeking refuge in Eddie's house. In the next note, it states that, "The Henry toy came up to me and asked me if she could tell me a story. I told her how much I love stories. I hope she doesn't use too many big words." The Henry toy is an adult woman, and the story goes as follows. "I cannot remember my name. These eyes are not mine. That cursed, maleficent lullaby has twisted my mind, burning with passion under the toy maker's wing. Joy to the children I thought I'd bring. Placed backstage, filled with dread and despair, he told me to wait. This isn't fair. I kept my composure and tried not to cry. Then I heard that damn lullaby. Like a scorching voice, it burned my ears. It paralyzed my body and shook me to tears. It was then I felt I wasn't alone. Something had made my body its home. I screamed as my skin started to melt. There was no use begging for help. I fought for my life and began to crawl. Something was watching me. It was slender and tall. With black and white stripes covering its skin, it's smiling at me with a blood-red grin. This is the end. I'm going to die. All because of that damn lullaby. Like a devil's whisper gutting my soul, sickening thoughts started to unfold. Don't be sad. It's better this way. Take my hand. It'll be okay. Just close your eyes and say goodbye. Listen to my lullaby. I started to believe everything would be fine. That was until he ripped out my... It's very interesting because literally as I just read that right now, there's room to assume what that last line is based off of listen to my lullaby until he ripped out my... Hey guys, editor Wowman here. So I'm pretty sure I figured it out. I'm pretty sure it's my insides. So it'd be listen to my lullaby. I started to believe everything would be fine. That was until he ripped out my insides. But yeah, feel free to let me know if you think it's something else, because I could be wrong. But it's pretty fair to assume that Martin has ripped out her innards and placed them into the Henry toy, as he does in this typical ritual fashion that we've seen before. However, as to who this is inside of the Henry toy, that's something we'll circle back to, although it is clear that this is a woman in the Henry toy.
The world can be a dangerous place, and it can be hard to ensure the safety of our children.
The next segment of the tape is a commercial for the Henry security puppet, detailing how the world is not a safe place, and that Henry is here to protect your children.
This category is Trooper Henry. Trooper Henry is responsible for monitoring incriminating behavior from adults, making sure that all adults respect the rules.
We're introduced to what is essentially a weaponized Henry military with 3 ranks of Henry security. At the bottom of the ranks is the Playtime Henry, following that is the Trooper Henry, and at the very top is the Commander Henry, which is the leader of the entire fleet.
Commander Henry is responsible for all the other Henry security puppets and gives commands for every action a Henry puppet makes.
And right off the bat, it becomes extremely strange how not one person thought this was the slightest bit suspicious that an entire fleet of weaponized toys are guarding them all. Although, because the town has just witnessed a great tragedy with children being abducted and slaughtered by the masses, it does make sense why people would be accepting to this new regime taking place in the new Harmony Arcade. Because people are so scared, they're willing to put up with these militarized toys if it means their children will be safe.
Martin! There you are. You told me you took Thomas to school, but here I am, getting a call from the school saying that Thomas wasn't there today. Are you listening to me?
The final scene of the video is of Gloria coming home one day, asking Martin why Thomas wasn't at school today. But by the time that Gloria is home, Martin has already put the pieces together. He's discovered the truth about their, quote, miracle child. The children aren't his. In fact, he's known for quite some time. And at this point, Martin has just come home from skinning his brother Arthur and stuffing him inside the ice cream man, as we saw in one of the first episodes of the series.
First the dog won't listen to me, then my wife. I think the only thing I've learned through all of this is that I am not going to let anyone let me down, including you.
Martin demands Gloria to leave, and he gives her 30 seconds to run until he tries to kill her.
How long did you think it would take for me to find out Or did you think that I wouldn't find out at all?
Martin, I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't you lie to me.
If you're watching this, I love you.
No, what did you do to him? Where's my son? Where is my boy? Where is he, Martin?
You have 30 seconds to get the girls and get as far as you can. Start running.
Oh God.
And the tape concludes there. Although we already know the outcome of this night, Martin murders and skins his entire family and turns them into toys. And going back to the theory that this is in fact Martin giving the speech and not Arthur, I mean, after going through this entire episode, the evidence stacks up significantly. First off, there's absolutely no way that Arthur would even be able to get his body back after the ritual Martin performed on him, fusing him into the ice cream man by skinning all of his flesh. Secondly, Arthur actually was able to escape the suit and made his way to Eddie's house, who offered him refuge. Arthur wasn't trying to attack Eddie, but was simply scared and apologizes after the fact. And lastly, perhaps the most important detail that this is Martin is that he says in his speech, "Having you guys back makes me so hungry," or something along those lines.
You have no idea how hungry it makes me to see these beautiful people back in the arms of their brave families.
Martin is posing as his brother, trying to convince people that these scars that Arthur inflicted on him when he tried to kill him are the scars from being stuffed inside the suit, which would make sense as to why Martin has created this entire fleet of weaponized Henrys. He's using them to trap and kill more children, because Martin's reign is, unfortunately, still far from over. Another theory that I wanted to get into before we kind of wrap this whole thing up is that who the Henry doll traveling with Arthur is. And I think some people are under the speculation that this is Gloria, although I don't think that is the case, because Gloria became this sort of spirit as she was never turned into a toy, because Martin simply shot her the night he found out the truth about his children. But I do have a strong belief that this Henry toy traveling with Arthur is in fact the intern that Martin hired all those years ago, an intern named Amy Wilson.
This is about your intern, Mr. Greywater. The whereabouts of Amy Wilson.
And I know there's not a lot of evidence to back this up. It's kind of just based off of the note that she wrote. "Joy to the children I thought I'd bring, placed backstage, filled with dread and despair. He told me to wait. This isn't fair." Within this little line, she states that she thought she'd be bringing joy to the children. So it seems like this was written by an employee that worked at the Harmony store who wanted to work with children, an employee named Amy Wilson. And one last thing is that there's a code in the description of this video that, if we decipher using a hex code, leads us to an unlisted video called "I Wish You Sweet Sorrows." And within this short little tape, we are shown the weaponized Henry in action, hunting children down in the new Harmony location. So with that, the series as of now concludes as we wait in anticipation for the next installment in Harmony and Horror. Martin Greywinder is alive. But yeah, that pretty much does it for this video. Thank you so much for sticking around. Let me know if you really think this is Martin. And also, please do not forget to subscribe, as well as commenting "bruh" on this video. That would be a huge help at boosting me into the algorithm. You can comment anything really, but it'd be funny if you commented this. Also, if you are interested, I also have a creepypasta channel where I read all sorts of creepypastas, as well as a new podcast that I just launched as well. So be sure to check those out, because that would be even, more epic if you did. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. It's always super great, And yeah, stay safe. See you later. Bye.
The world's meat supply chain will fail within the next 20 to 30 years.
Stay away from doors. Do not look through the peephole.
Take a look at these two images. Does any of this seem familiar to you?